Which country do you think loves Singapore the most? Singapore is tiny. It has no natural resources, barely any land, and yet the whole world seems to adore this little red dot. From trade deals worth billions to tourists flooding in every single year, nations across the globe are lining up to be close to Singapore. Some send investment, some send tourists, some send their own citizens to live and work there, and some simply admire what Singapore has built from nothing in just a few decades. Today, we are counting down 10 countries that genuinely love Singapore in 2026, and the reasons behind each relationship might surprise you. Some are old friends, some are new allies. All of them prove that Singapore, despite its size, has become one of the most respected and cherished nations on planet Earth. Let's dive right in. 1. Malaysia. You cannot talk about Singapore without talking about Malaysia first. These two nations were literally one country before separating in 1965, and even after all these years, the bond between them remains incredibly close. Millions of people cross the causeway between Johor Bahru and Singapore every single year, some for work, some for shopping, some just to visit family. Malaysia supplies Singapore with fresh produce, water, and a massive workforce that keeps businesses running smoothly. In return, Singapore pours investment into Malaysian cities, especially in the Johor region, where new economic zones are popping up thanks to Singaporean money and expertise. The two countries share culture, language, food, and even relatives across the border. Many families have members living on both sides. Despite occasional disagreements over politics or water pricing, the everyday relationship between ordinary Malaysians and Singaporeans stays warm and deeply connected. It is truly a sibling relationship built on shared history and daily life, and that bond is not going anywhere anytime soon. 2. Indonesia. Just a short ferry ride away sits Indonesia, another nation deeply intertwined with Singapore's story. Batam and Bintan, two Indonesian islands close to Singapore, have become playgrounds and business hubs thanks to heavy Singaporean investment over the decades. Wealthy Singaporeans vacation there, companies manufacture there, and the economic relationship benefits both sides tremendously. Indonesia sends Singapore energy resources, raw materials, and a huge number of tourists who love shopping and dining in the city. Singapore, meanwhile, is one of the largest foreign investors in Indonesia, funding infrastructure projects, technology parks, and green energy initiatives across the archipelago. The two nations also cooperate closely on maritime security, since they share busy waters that both depend on for trade. Indonesian leaders often praise Singapore as a model for how a small nation can achieve massive economic success. With growing cooperation on technology, sustainability, and regional stability, Indonesia and Singapore continue building one of the most important partnerships in all of Southeast Asia, rooted in mutual respect and shared opportunity. 3. China. China's love for Singapore runs incredibly deep, and it makes sense when you consider the shared heritage. A huge portion of Singapore's population traces its roots back to Chinese immigrants, creating a cultural bond that goes back generations. Since the early 2013s, China has remained Singapore's largest trading partner, with billions of dollars flowing between the two nations every year in electronics, chemicals, and financial services. Singapore has also been one of the biggest foreign investors inside China for over a decade, funding major projects through joint ventures like the ones in Suzhou and Tianjin. Chinese businesses see Singapore as the perfect gateway into Southeast Asia, using it as a base to expand into neighboring markets. Chinese tourists flock to Singapore for its cleanliness, safety, and blend of modern skyscrapers with rich cultural neighborhoods like Chinatown. Despite Singapore balancing relationships with other global powers, its connection with China remains one of trust, heavy commerce, and deep cultural familiarity that continues strengthening year after year. 4. India. India and Singapore share a friendship that recently celebrated 60 years of official diplomatic ties, and the relationship keeps growing stronger. Singapore stands as the single largest source of foreign investment flowing into India, pouring enormous amounts of money into Indian infrastructure, technology, and startups over the past 2 decades. In return, India sends valuable exports like fuel products and machinery to Singapore, while thousands of Indian professionals live and work across the island nation. Leaders from both countries have signed agreements covering aviation, shipping, green energy, and defense cooperation, showing just how broad this partnership has become. Singapore is also India's largest trading partner within the entire ASEAN region, a title that highlights just how central this relationship is. Cultural ties run deep too, since Singapore's Indian community has shaped neighborhoods like Little India for generations. With both nations pushing forward on technology and strategic cooperation, India's affection for Singapore continues to grow into one of the most promising partnerships in all of Asia. 5. United States. America's relationship with Singapore might be surprising, but runs incredibly deep on both trade and security fronts. The United States and Singapore have maintained a free trade agreement since 2004, and goods and services flowing between them are worth well over $100 billion each year, described here in figures rather than symbols for clarity. American companies love setting up regional headquarters in Singapore because of its stability, low corruption, and business-friendly environment. On the security side, the two nations have cooperated since a memorandum signed in 1990, and Singapore continues purchasing advanced American military technology, including fighter jets, to modernize its defense forces. Washington also treats Singapore favorably compared to many other trading partners, applying some of the lowest tariffs among global nations. Beyond business and defense, Americans simply enjoy visiting Singapore as tourists, drawn to its food scene, greenery, and futuristic architecture. This blend of economic partnership, military trust, and casual admiration makes the United States one of Singapore's most valuable and consistent global friends. 6. Australia. Australia and Singapore share a friendship built on trust, trade, and shared values across the Asia-Pacific region. The two countries signed one of their earliest free trade agreements together, opening doors for goods, services, and investment to flow smoothly between them. Australian companies use Singapore as a launching pad into Southeast Asia, while Singaporean firms invest heavily in Australian real estate, infrastructure, and energy projects. Students also travel in both directions, with many Singaporeans studying in Australian universities and Australians finding job opportunities in Singapore's booming finance sector. Militarily, the two nations train together regularly, reflecting a defense partnership that has lasted for decades. Australians frequently rank Singapore among their favorite travel destinations, appreciating its safety, cleanliness, and incredible food culture. Singapore, in turn, values Australia as a reliable partner in a region often filled with uncertainty. This mutual respect, paired with genuine everyday cooperation across business, education, and defense, makes Australia one of the steadiest and most affectionate allies Singapore has in the entire world. 7. Japan. Japan holds a special kind of admiration for Singapore, seeing it as both a trusted partner and a model of efficiency. The two nations have built strong trade ties over the years, with Japanese companies investing heavily in Singapore's technology, manufacturing, and financial sectors. Singapore, being incredibly reliable and corruption-free, gives Japanese businesses a comfortable base to expand throughout Southeast Asia. Meanwhile, Japanese culture has left a visible mark on Singapore too, from popular restaurants to retail brands that Singaporeans adore. Tourism flows heavily in both directions, with Japanese travelers enjoying Singapore's gardens, cuisine, and futuristic cityscape, while Singaporeans flock to Japan for its scenery and culture. The two countries also cooperate on regional trade agreements, working together within broader Asian economic partnerships to strengthen ties across the continent. Japan sees Singapore as proof that small nations can achieve enormous global influence through smart planning and discipline. This mutual admiration, mixing business trust with genuine cultural appreciation, keeps the Japan and Singapore relationship warm, steady, and full of long-term promise. 8. United Kingdom. The United Kingdom's connection to Singapore stretches back over 2 centuries, rooted in colonial history, but now transformed into a modern partnership of equals. Singapore was once a British trading post, and traces of that history remain visible in the architecture and legal system still used today. Fast forward to today, and the two nations share a comprehensive trade agreement covering goods, services, and digital commerce, making it easier for businesses to operate across both markets. British companies value Singapore's legal stability and English-speaking workforce, making it a favorite regional headquarters location in Asia. Singaporean students have long favored British universities, creating generations of graduates who carry strong ties back home. Financial institutions in London and Singapore cooperate closely too, since both cities serve as major global banking hubs. Despite the shift from colonial ruler to equal partner, the United Kingdom holds deep respect and genuine fondness for Singapore's remarkable transformation, viewing it as one of its most successful and culturally connected relationships across the entire Commonwealth. 9. South Korea. South Korea's love for Singapore has grown tremendously over recent years, fueled by both business ambition and cultural exchange. Korean companies, especially in technology and shipbuilding, have expanded aggressively into Singapore, using it as their base for Southeast Asian operations. Trade between the two nations covers electronics, petrochemicals, and increasingly, digital services as both economies modernize together. Korean tourists visit Singapore in huge numbers, drawn by its blend of nature, nightlife, and incredible food options. At the same time, Korean culture has exploded in popularity across Singapore, with music, dramas, and fashion trends becoming a massive part of daily life for younger Singaporeans. Concerts featuring Korean artists regularly sell out arenas across the island, showing just how strong this cultural bond has become. Beyond entertainment, the two countries also collaborate on technology development and green energy solutions, preparing for a future built on innovation. This mixture of serious business ties and genuine cultural affection makes South Korea one of Singapore's fastest-growing and most enthusiastic international friendships today. 10. Vietnam. Rounding out our list is Vietnam, a rising nation that has grown incredibly close to Singapore over the past 2 decades. Singapore ranks among the largest foreign investors in Vietnam, funding industrial parks, technology projects, and infrastructure that have helped transform Vietnamese cities. The famous Vietnam-Singapore Industrial Parks stand as a symbol of this partnership, creating thousands of jobs and attracting international businesses to set up manufacturing bases. Trade between the two nations continues climbing steadily, covering electronics, agriculture, and consumer goods flowing in both directions. Vietnamese leaders often point to Singapore as an inspiration, studying its economic planning and governance models to guide their own nation's rapid development. Tourism also plays a role, with growing numbers of travelers moving between the two countries for both business and leisure. As Vietnam's economy continues booming, its partnership with Singapore only deepens further, built on mutual respect and a shared vision for growth. This friendship represents the future of Southeast Asian cooperation, blending ambition, trust, and genuine admiration between two nations moving forward together. And there you have it, 10 countries that truly love Singapore in 2026, each connected through trade, culture, history, or pure admiration for what this small island nation has accomplished. From lifelong neighbors like Malaysia and Indonesia to global powers like the United States and China, Singapore continues proving that size means nothing when you build trust, stability, and opportunity for the whole world to share. It is honestly incredible watching so many different nations, with different cultures and different histories, all find genuine reasons to respect and love the same tiny country. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new today, smash that like button right now. It truly helps this channel grow. Drop a comment below and tell me which country surprised you the most, or which one you think deserves an honorable mention. And if you have not already, hit subscribe so you never miss another deep dive like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.